In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the spark plugs on this Dodge Ram 1500 with a 5.7 liter Hemi engine. There are 16 of them, and we'll access them from on top of each valve cover, 8 per side. Let's get started. To remove the engine cover, we have to remove part of this intake tubing. This sensor for me is hooked up to an extension harness just because this is an aftermarket intake. For you, it'll be connected right over here. Regardless, we're going to want to pull this red tab back. That'll unlock it. Press on this tab and pull these apart, or unplug your sensor in your case. For me, I have an 8mm headed clamp here that I have to loosen up so I can release the intake from this side. Okay, that's plenty loose. Right where the air box would be, mine looks a little bit different just because of that aftermarket intake. There is another clamp that I have to loosen up, 8mm headed clamp. And now for me, I can slide this intake tubing right up and out. I grab this and set it to the side. Now lift the engine cover up and pull it towards you. Okay, set that aside. And with the engine cover off, you can see the ignition coils. There are 4 on each side. Now, the procedure for all of them is exactly the same. Even for this one behind the brake booster, because the boots are flexible, you don't have to remove anything. You just might have to work around certain components. And then when you get them out, if something's in the way, you just twist it and pull it out. Now, because of that, we'll be focusing on this one right here. Let's unplug the electrical connector. There's a tab right here that you should be able to press. However, a lot of times they get very stiff. Sometimes you might even need the help of some pliers to very gently squeeze this and pull it up. So with this set aside, let's take a 10mm socket and unbolt the 2 mounting bolts that hold this coil down. All right, I got one of them unbolted, and the second one, sometimes these bolts don't come out. They technically should stay with the ignition coils, but sometimes they do come out. So now you can pull this right up and out. Now let's get a 5/8 spark plug socket and replace both of those spark plugs. Okay, I broke that one free. It's easy enough to spin to where I can just remove it by hand now. And there it is. Now this is why it's important to have a spark plug socket, because you want to carefully put your new spark plug in it. And mine's magnetic. Some have a rubber O-ring in there, but regardless, it won't fall down when you go to put it in the cylinder. Speaking of, gently slide it right back in. And we're going to start it on by hand. That's bottomed out. Torque these spark plugs to 13 foot-pounds. It is also important to note that the design of the seat on them requires you to not exceed 15 foot-pounds. Regardless, we're going to 13. Okay, we'll get our tool out of here. With this being torqued, we would do the same thing to this one right here. Then we can proceed with putting back our ignition coil. On the end of your ignition coil, I recommend putting a little bit of silicone paste or dielectric grease just on the end of the boot. Don't put too much in there, but just enough to coat it so it doesn't stick to the spark plug in the future. Now slide your ignition coil back in. Line up the 2 bolts, which you can now start in by hand. And once you've started them by hand, snug them up. These get torqued to 62 inch-pounds. However, there's no way I can get a torque wrench in here, so I'm just going to do my best to get them nice and snug with my ratchet. 62 inch-pounds is very little, so it does not take much force to actually tighten these down. That's bottomed out. Just a tiny bit extra is plenty. All right. Now take your electrical connector, reconnect it, make sure you listen for a click to know that it's locked in. Let's put our engine cover back on. line it up in the back to make sure that it actually clips into its two retainers, it's two pins that stick out of the engine cover. There we go. A little bit difficult to see, but as long as you feel it lock in, you should be good. Press it down. Let's get the intake tubing and place it right back into the throttle body and the air filter. A couple things here. Let's get our connector reattached and locked in, and then we'll tighten up this clamp with our 8mm socket. With these clamps, once you feel them snug up a little bit and you can't move the piping around, that's plenty tight. Do the same on the other end if you have one of these clamps.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.